Cheers, we are rolling. Just coffee, nothing in it, just half and half. Been a long day, did a lot of, pollen's still getting to me, excuse me. Did a lot of work today outdoors. Did some cutting, cut a tree, weeded the weeds, and a lot of work. So I'm kind of tired, but I want to get this video done. This is from ELVIS in Memphis, one step, 45 RPM. Is it worth the money? Approximately $125 plus shipping plus tax. You're looking at $160 album right now while they're in print. Later on, who knows what the cost will be. So I'm going to do a quick review. I listened to the record this afternoon after I was done with my chores or work, as Elvis would call it, the chores. And I'll give you my impressions. And I did some research. I have some track listings, some session men. None of it, by the way, none of this information is included in the one step. Like I talked about during the unboxing, it's pretty sparse. We get the photograph that was released with the original album, and we get a facsimile of the original album, and that's all. And no booklet, no session work, no who's on who, and none of that. I believe none of that was on the original. So this is a complete copy of what the original had. The original had a sticker on it that said, including, it's 8x10 signed photo of Elvis, which is this, which we received in the box. Nice paper, hard paper. And here we have the cover and the back jacket. It's odd that the cover is from the comeback special. It's not even from the sessions. Elvis wasn't in charge of his record jackets or design. I believe the organization, maybe the colonel, maybe him in some way, but that's it. Here's the one step, which I showed the other day. And like I said, this is a low number, under 300, so I'm happy to get this. And the two, I'll show these again. Two jackets. Jacket number 2. And so here we have it. And let me go over some quick facts about the record. Elvis was around 34 when he stepped into American Sound Studios in Memphis, owned and run by Chip Moorman. And here's the cover again. And we used Chip's house band at the time, and the horns and the backup singers were dubbed in later, I believe. I'm assuming there's not much information on this, but I'm sure aficionados of Elvis and the recording have more information. I'm just a fan of Elvis. I'm not a musician. I'm not an engineer. I just, from what I read, I'll give you the details. But Elvis was 34. This was his 10th studio album. And this came on the heels of his successful comeback special, which was the Christmas special, the Singer Christmas special, 1968. So he got into American Sound Studio in January of 69. And the funny thing was, they were booked solid. It was such a successful studio that within 16 months, they were booked solid from musicians all over the world. Neil Diamond was booked for a 1 to 2 week session at the time Elvis was available to do his thing, meaning Elvis had slotted this time to record his new album. And Chip, the producer and owner of American Sound Studios, and American Sound Studios, the abbreviation ASS really doesn't really fly right. I was going to do that. It didn't look right. ASS, American Sound Studios. So anyway, and now a legendary studio in Memphis. But anyway, Elvis wanted to get back to his roots, back to his hometown. He was a little, he had some trepidation. He got Chip to have Neil Diamond postpone his session. Neil Diamond agreed to postpone his session, and Elvis took that slot. And I believe they recorded January into February, because I have the dates here. Actually, two albums and some singles were the reward for this session. So the one album, Elvis in Memphis. Then we have another album, Back in Memphis, which has some other great hits on it, like Kentucky Rain, things of that nature, which is a great album. These two albums were done at the same time. This first album from Elvis in Memphis is kind of short. When you're doing the one step, which is 5 RPM, you may have 6 minutes to 9 minutes aside on 45. So you're getting up within every 10 minutes, less than 10 minutes, you're getting up. So that's the deal there. I'm going to give you the session guys on track, which was the American Sound Studios group. They're the good old boys group. We had Elvis on guitar as well as vocals, and Elvis also on some piano. We had guitar and sitar, the famous Reggie Young. You probably heard of him. Bass was Mike Leach, Tommy Coble. Drums were Gene Christman, and he's on the whole album. He's fantastic. Piano, as well as Elvis, was Bobby Wood. Organ was Bobby Emmons. Steel guitar was John Huey. And harmonica was Ed Colas, which I don't really hear harmonica the first time around. I have to go back. I know this album pretty well. And we have the horn section, which is great. And I'll go over the horns as I go by track. Trumpet was R.F. Taylor, Wayne Jackson, Dick Sheaf. Saxes were Jackie Thomas, Andrew Lowe, Glenn Speen, and J.P. Looper. Trombone was Ed Logan, Jackie Hale, Gerald Richardson, and Jackie Thomas. French horn, Tony Carson and Joe Giolino. And we have a lot of background vocals. The background vocals were not the groups that he used live. This is probably people that Chip used in the American sessions, the American Sound Studios, rather. So we have Millie Kirkham, Mary Jean Green, Sandy Posey, Zonia Montgomery, Donna Tratcher, Susan Pinkerton, Mary Holiday, Dolores Etchen, June Page, Herschel Wingington, Joe Babcock, and Ginger Holiday. And that's the people in the band. So once again, Chip Mormon, first name was Lincoln. They called him Chips. These records were recorded at this at the studio, I believe, within about 2 to 3 weeks. I have the dates here, and we go over some of the songs. Overall, let me just get overall. Overall, it's not the best sounding Elvis that I have, and that could have a lot to do with the simplicity of the mixes. And I'll go over the simplicity of the mixes. It sounds fantastic. I'm sure this record never sounded as well. But is it the best sounding record? No, I believe the Elvis 24 Carat that I talked about the other day on Analog Productions, I believe that has a bigger presence, more ambience in your room. The room is there. It becomes part of the room. Those mixes were pretty complex. That was Bill Porter, who engineered and I believe produced a lot of those with the famous guitar player. It slips my mind now, for RCA. Elvis worked with the Colonel, hooked him up with some very, very good people at RCA. So, that was in the 60s and 50s. Here we're now in 69. Elvis is 34. It's a more modern sound. The mix hasn't been manipulated by MOFI. I believe it's the same mix, so it's a simplistic, old-fashioned stereo mix. I believe this would really sound great on headphones. I listened to it open. I didn't listen to it on headphones. And I believe with headphones, you'll be able to pick up left, right, and center a little easier than when it's open. So it's a great sounding record. I really enjoyed it. Elvis sounded great. I believe the second record, side 3 and 4, for me, I think that's the best sounding portions of the album. Like some people had said before, there's some variations in the sound, and I think that's just the way it was recorded. It has nothing to do with MOFI. It's just the tapes that they had. It's just the way Chip put them down back in '69. So we're gonna go over the tracks real quick. I don't want this to be too long. It's actually my cure for insomnia. If you can't sleep, share this and send it out, and we'll put people out. So it said here when Elvis, like I said before, had a little trepidation about going back home to record. It's his hometown, Memphis, as you know. He was a little. He kind of came in and made some excuses. My throat's not right. I'm coming off a cold, and it was a little down. But once the first track was laid down, which was Long Black Limousine, that was the first song. The second song was Only the Strong Survive. Elvis and everyone around him knew that he meant business. He wanted to record an album, a comeback record, a studio record rather, that was going to exceed the expectations of everyone and exceed his expectations after the success of the '68 comeback special. So I'm just going to go through the tracks real quick, and I'll give you the layout of the sound. And I don't want to disparage this record at all. It's like I said, is it worth $125? If you're an Elvis fan, yes. If you're a collector of MOFI, definitely. If you want to hear this record in its best format, can't be 100% certain because I don't have all the other records that this record was released on. It was released on Vinyl Matters, I believe. It was Elvis Legacy, the original. I'm sure it sounds better than the original. There's a CD compilations of CD box sets of this record. And I think there's a MOFI record. So, but let's face it, MOFI, this one-step process, I believe this is probably the best you'll hear it. I'm just from not hearing everything else, but just knowing what I know about this MOFI series. Every record I have kicks ass, kicks American Sound Studio, ASS, from any other recording. So that's it there. That's it in a nutshell. So first track on the album was recorded January 15th, '69, Wearing That Loved On Look. You have a very old-fashioned stereo pan. I'm going to go over the pans because they're all basically the same. They just switch around when they mix it. So we have Wearing That Loved On Look, first track on record 1. Rhythm section and drums on the left, Elvis bass, front and center, bass is underneath, and the background singers are on the right. Only the Strong Survive, recorded 2/1969. Rhythm section left, horns left, Elvis center, bass center, background singers and tambourine there. I rate this overall, as far as sound-wise, a 9. Third track on side 1, last track, I'll Hold You in My Heart. Unbelievable song, great song. 1/22/69 recorded. Bass and organ, hard left. Elvis center. Drums and electric guitar, right. I believe there are no background vocals on this. I give that record a 10. Elvis is strong. There's a nice reverb. The whole record has a reverb to it, which some people didn't like, but I think it was cool. Side 2, first track, Long Black Limousine, classic, 113.69. Background singers and horns and organ, hard left, Elvis center, bass center underneath it, drums on right. I give it a 9. Track 2, It Keeps Right On Hurtin', 120.69. Drums, electric guitar, rhythm section left, Elvis center, backup singers right. I believe that's as far as instrumentation goes, and I give this a 10. This song really hits you home. I might be able to see. I'm moving on. Track 3 on side 2, rhythm section, electric guitar, horns, hard left, Elvis center, bass center, piano right, drums and guitar and horns to the right. When I say rhythm on the left, I hear a little bit of drums. I hear a little bit of the beat on the left, but piano, drums, guitar, horns to the right. So they're kind of flipping back and forth. The horns and the backup singers were all dubbed after the session. So Elvis was with the American Studio Session Band, American Sound Studios Band, and then Chip added singers and horns subsequent to the recording. Okay, so just 2, first song, Power of Love, I give it a 10. 218.69. Hard left, background singers, organ, horns, rhythm. Elvis is right in the middle with the bass, but it's a lively mix. There's more movement than a lot of the other tracks. There's like a different vibe to it. So I put down a very lively mix. Organ, electric guitar, right. Don't believe anybody else is on the right. Background singers are on the left. Gentle on My Mind, which was recorded at January 14.69. Drums and a fork type of thing, like a twang, is on the left. Backup singers on the left. Elvis bass center. Electric guitar and more bass on the right. And this song gave me the chills. I'm not sure when Glenn Campbell did Gentle on My Mind. I'm sure it's around the same time. But Elvis took that song from Glenn. Elvis now owns this song. And like I said, I give it 11. I actually get the chills now. After Loving You, track 3 on that side, that's 218.69. We have bass on the left, Elvis and bass underneath, electric guitar and drums on the right. I don't have backup singers on this track, and maybe just a sparse mix. True Love Travels on a Gravel Road, which is classic. I give that song a 10. 217.69. Organ, drums left, Elvis is center, bass is center underneath, bass and some backup on the right. The bass and Elvis actually moved to the right on this song. I actually have an arrow in my chart where Elvis is slightly skewed to the right. Any Day Now, which I also give an 11 if you know these songs. Guitar, drums, horns, guitar, 2 guitars on the left. Backup singers and bass, middle with Elvis to the right. Elvis is more squared away. Then we have In the Ghetto, which is a million seller from this release. We have the drums and strings on the left. We have military, that like military sounding snare. Elvis and bass are center, strings and backup to the right. And this song is incredible. Of course, that's a 10 and 11. It's one of the best sounding records on this disc. And I believe the second album with which is side 3 and 4, I like the overall sound of that. And it's not like these records were recorded in order. They're mixed up. So you have great sounding records from say January 14.69. Then the next day it may not sound as good. It's just the way the records were laid down. Elvis sounds fabulous in everything. and the band sounds fabulous and everything. And so do the backup singers. There's a load of backup singers, as you know from reading it. Then we have the bonus track, and that's a that's a stereo mix as far as I'm concerned. And that was recorded January 22, 69. I know there's some folks were saying it may be mono before the reviews came out. But we have organ horns on the left. We have bass, Elvis, backup singers, drums in the middle. So maybe that's where we got the impression that it was mono. But on my system, I'm getting some ambient sounds left and right. But everything is down the middle, which is really cool. It's almost a modern, like when they remixed Revolver, when they remixed Abbey Road, or not really Abbey Road, but some of the early Beatles, Let It Be. Everything was not separate. They put things right in the middle, which is a modern soundstage. And I think that's what this is. So in the middle, we have bass, electric guitar, backup singers, drums, and more guitar. On the right, we have horns, and on the left, I have horns and organ. So I'm not sure about that. But overall, I like the record. Overall, I think it's well worth the money. It's only 10,000. They're going to go pretty fast, and you're going to have to pay double that if you later on become an Elvis fan or if someone wants it. But here's the record again. It's it right there, and that's the original jacket with the back, which doesn't really fit. It's what gets to me is it has nothing to do with the MOFI, but going back, Elvis didn't even look like this when he recorded this record. If you look at the photographs of the session, Elvis had the sideburns. He had his face was the baby fat was gone. I'm not even sure what year this is from. This looks like it's from the 60s, early 60s. So this is 68, around the special, but this isn't. And this is on the back. So there was no rhyme or reason to how the Elvis people, the Colonel, wherever he could make the most money, he would do it. He probably didn't want to pay for a new photographer to capture Elvis. Wouldn't it be great if those sessions were filmed as they do now? Everything's filmed on tape or filmed back then on videotape or film. Wouldn't that have been great to see Elvis working it? We do have some rehearsal tapes from the casinos in Vegas. We have some great, and it's always fun to watch Elvis. What I found revealing with it, this was only his 10th studio album. You would think out of all the albums, there were more studio albums, but most of the albums were soundtracks, compilations, things that the Colonel put together from bits and pieces. And like I said before, this session actually yielded 2 big albums. Elvis went from selling hundreds of thousands of records to selling millions of records again, with In the Ghetto and Suspicious Minds, Kentucky Rain, Only the Strong Survive. Just a really, really great album. So I believe it's worth it. Not the best sounding Elvis record that I have, maybe the best sounding record that you think you have when you hear it, or from what you can compare it to. But I also have those Elvis 10-inch 45s of the 18 #1 hits from around the world. They're EPs, and I talked about those in a few videos. If you go back, you could hear that and look at that. And my friends do agree that those are some of the best sounding records. Not that this, don't get me wrong, this One Step from Elvis and Memphis does not have to be the best sounding Elvis record, but I believe it's probably the best sounding from Elvis in Memphis record. And that's what we're talking about. So hope you like this. I'm trying to get the subscriptions up. So if you can, please subscribe, please share this. We're Elvis fans, a lot of Elvis fans. I'm getting a lot of positive feedback. I didn't realize Elvis was as big as he is on the VC YouTube channel. So we always loved Elvis. I've been an Elvis fan since I can remember. So keep rocking. We got the king right here. He's not talking because he will infringe on YouTube's copyright thing. If I press a button, he starts singing Blue Suede Shoes. And this is the young Elvis. This isn't Elvis 69. This is Elvis 55, 54, 55, or 56. So that's it. And I have to keep on saying so. So keep rocking. And thanks a lot. Like I said, if you like what you hear, please subscribe. And we'll see you down the road. And the next video is really coming quick because I like doing these. And I hope you like watching. So thanks a lot and stay well. Ciao. And I have to do this. Okay, here we go. Thank you. Thank you very much. Peace.